Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Bridgette and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having an awesome day. And today's video is a video you guys requested. So you requested a head-to-head battle of the Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag palette and the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Thirsty palette, ching ching, which came out a week apart with some very similar colors in it. This probably is coincidence, but you know, we're going to compare these two today and see which one is worth your money. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video. Alright guys, before you start, I put it every single freaking day, so if you want to subscribe, I'd appreciate it. It'd be cool. So, these two palettes have so much drama around them. They came out a week apart. There's some very similar colors in here. Part of me thinks it's just because like a summertime vibe, and other part of me is like, well, Jeffree and Manny used to be friends, so maybe they like knew each other were making things. I don't know. It's not my place to say, but I am going to say which palette is better. So I did review both these palettes. I'll leave them linked up in the cards as well as in the description box for you. And I'm also doing a giveaway of the Lunar Beauty palette, a brand new one. If you want to check that out, I'll leave that video link down below too. Tons of stuff for you to watch today. So, today I did my eye makeup. One eye, this eye is the Jeffree Star palette, and this eye is the Lunar Beauty palette. I tried to make them match like perfectly, and I think I did a pretty freaking good job. So I'm going to show you how I did this eye makeup now. So first up, for this eye makeup, I had to set my eyelid primer. So for the Jeffree Star palette, I used the light shade of Parched, which is a light matte base. And for the Life's a Drag palette, I used the shade of Cake Face. Now, Cake Face did leave this side a lot brighter and wider compared to this side because Jeffree's palette has like a different kind of nude matte base. But overall, it looked kind of decent. So after that, I decided to do the outer crease area. For the Jeffree palette, I used the color of Subtle, which was like a muted neutral brown, and I buffed it over the outer corner of the crease. And for the Lunar Beauty palette, I used the shade of Hunty. They're very similar shades. I just think the formula is a little bit different with these shades. I find that the Jeffree Star one is a little more dry, but easier to blend. And I feel that the Manny palette, the Hunty shade, just kind of stuck where I put it, and it was kind of hard to blend out, but it was a little bit more pigmented as far as it being like a soft shade. But again, the Jeffree one is very buildable and blendable, and this one kind of, the Lunar Beauty one, kind of stuck where it was, but overall, like, it didn't take me but like a second more to blend it out. So moving on to the inner crease area, I decided to take the two turquoisey aqua shades in the palette. For the Jeffree Star palette, I used the shade of Splash, which was way more pigmented and a lot prettier in my opinion. I told you in my Manny MUA Lunar Beauty review that I did not like the shade of Kiki, which is the shade I had to use for the inner portion of my eye today. This eye, I had to blend up like 3 times as long as this one, mostly because Manny said that this wasn't a pigmented shade. He said it's probably as like a eye topper. I'm not sure I fully believe that. I think he just knows the quality of the shadow isn't that good. So it's kind of an excuse for it, but it's just not as, he said it's a transition shade, and it's just not there. This took a lot of building up. So as far as the turquoisey shades, just as like application and pigment goes, Jeffree Star's won by a lot. I had a huge frustration kind of getting this one this bright to try to match, and it's still not quite as bright or as deep in tone. For the lids, I decided to try to figure out which Jeffree shade to use, so I had to like mix 3 of them, but overall I think the majority of the metallic shade that I use for his palette is the shade of Plunge, which is like the deepest gold in the palette, and I use that all over the lid. And for the Manny palette, since there's only 2 shimmery metallics here, I use the color of Legendary, which is a pure gold, and I think they match pretty freaking well. I did see that there is more glitter in the Jeffree palette than in the Manny one, but application wise they both look very good. As far as which one is easier to remove, I feel like the Jeffree glitter is way prettier, but it leaves a little more of a mess when you remove it because it is so glittery, and the Manny palette is a little bit easier to remove, but not as like vibrant and pretty on the eyes, just like with your finger. The Jeffree one is brighter because of more glitter in it probably, but the Manny one is still very pretty and a little bit easier to remove without a mess. So for the lower lash line, I decided to use my favorite eyeshadows ever because I love yellow eyeshadows, and I did yellow all under the lower lash line. For the Jeffree palette, I used the shade of Quench under here, and I found it to be a little bit powdery, but it is an underlining brush that you're using, so I kind of understand. And for the Manny palette, I use the shade of Campy, which is a bright yellow. I find the Jeffree palette was more of a pastel pretty yellow, and the Manny palette was more of like a golden yellow color. And I found that the Manny palette's yellow was a little more pigmented, but you can build a Jeffree one up, but like Manny's is easier to build up. But honestly, I think the wear test is going to be the best test of the yellows, because I love yellow eyeshadows and it's hard to get one to hold onto your eyes all day. So if one is a little bit harder to build up but lasts longer than the one that was really good to apply, you know, I'll rather take the one that lasts longer. So we're going to have to see with that. Yellow eyeshadows are very difficult for me to fall in love with. They're my favorite eyeshadows. I'm obsessed with yellow eyeshadow, but it has to be like the right one that stays all day. Easy to apply. Doesn't have to be built up a super ton. Not powdery, not patchy. It needs to be like all day beautiful bold yellow. So we're gonna see with that one. So I am gonna do a wear test. I think overall I like the Jeffree eye better because the aqua color is brighter and the glitter is much brighter on the eye. But again, it's gonna be a little more messy to remove later than it would be with the Manny shimmer. They both look very good, but I am just a fan of like the darker turquoisey and the brighter glitter than I am with the more muted glitter and whatever that crease color is. It's a lot of colors going on today, but we're gonna see which one lasts throughout the day. But for now, let's start talking about the formula of the overall palette and not just the colors that I used. Okay, so let's do a brief summary of what I thought in my full reviews of the palettes. This is not gonna be as in-depth as like when I was talking about the palette as a whole. So for the Jeffree palette, I find that the mattes have little to no fallout. I find them very pigmented. I feel like a couple, like the yellow, and I feel like this shade right here were a little bit more powdery than the rest of them, but they are very pigmented, no fallout, very colorful and bright, and they last all day. Now the glitters are kind of messy. They're like a metallic formulation, not just a shimmer. So it is a little more of a mess, but it is pressed. I don't have that much fallout with it. And I just find it very pretty and doesn't transfer onto my hood and lid as much as most other metallic formulations do. I'm not really a fan personally of glitter in my metallic. I'd rather just be like metallic looking, but I do understand that's the formulation of this product. For the Manny MUA Lunar Beauty palettes, I find that these are a lot softer of shadows for mattes, but they have a lot more fallout than the Jeffree palette. Jeffree palette has a little bit of a harder, like matte formulation. These are a little bit softer, but they do have a lot of kickback or fallout with it when you do use them, which I don't mind too much, but personal preference. Some people don't like fallout. I don't really mind. I kind of just pick it up a second time. As far as the composition of the palette, I prefer the Jeffree one because I don't use a black eyeshadow, and there's no color in Jeffree's palette that I wouldn't use. Like, I like all these colors. And for Manny's palette, I probably wouldn't really use the pure purple or the black color. But overall, I prefer like a really light matte base, which it has in both palettes. This is my favorite color out of the Manny palette. It is the color of Trade, and it is a beautiful red-brown color. I think it's beautiful. The pigment is absolutely there. I feel like the neutral colors in the Manny palette perform a little bit better than the bright colors, and I'm not sure I like that it's half and half colorful and neutral, but I do understand that. So as far as like the colors, my favorite not matte out of this formula isn't even the two shimmers. It is this weird formulation here of Fishy. It is an absolutely stunning blue. I love it. It's like I don't want to say it's not a shimmer, and it's not, I don't know, it's like a very soft, like semi shimmer. I don't know. This is a very beautiful color out of this palette, and I'm just not a fan whatsoever of the shade Kiki. Manny said that it is supposed to be a transition shade, but just because something's a transition shade does not mean it's not supposed to be pigmented, and I don't understand why you wouldn't just go lighter hand into the brush with a pigmented shade to get a light color rather than working your way to try to build this one up, which seems like more work. So I don't understand the shade of Kiki, and I wouldn't really use the black. The white is a little bit powdery, but again, some of these neutrals and both of these shimmers are absolutely perfect in formulation. So overall, I don't know which one I'm probably going to get more use out of. I really love the neutral formulation of the Manny palette. I think these neutral colors are stunning and pigmented, but they have a little more fallout. I think with the Thirsty palette overall, I have thoroughly enjoyed just opening this up, and I really like the orangey neutral tones, and the yellow and bright colors as well. So because if I was going for a palette that has one of these turquoisey shades, I would pick this one up, and it has the yellow in it as well. I think I'll probably get more use out of the Jeffree one, but not by much, because I really thoroughly enjoy the neutral colors in the Manny palette, and I think I prefer his neutral formulation a slightly better, but there is more fallout. So I don't know, because Jeffree didn't want any fallout. That's why these are a little more hard. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I feel like I'm ranting about these shadows. So overall, both swatches perform great. I think they're about the same. I have full swatches in both of my palette reviews, which you can see linked down below. So let's go ahead throughout the day and see which one of these eyeshadows holds up better. I think what's going to be my test and like get a feel for the rest of the day of how both of these last compared to each other, because they are both high quality palettes. As far as the price, the Jeffree Star palette is $48 and the Manny palette is $45. So it's only $3 difference. I don't know. I would say that the Jeffree one would come out a little bit cheaper because you don't have to pay for shipping, over $35 on Beautylish for it, and the Manny palette is $5.95 to $20 shipping, but I think that kind of depends on where you live. So let's go ahead and do a wear test. Alright, it has been about 2 hours since I applied this eyeshadow, about an hour since I last saw you guys, and this is the Manny MUA palette eye, and this is the Jeffree eye. Manny, Jeffree. I don't know if you can tell, but both shimmery, metallic-y shades kind of drifted up above my hood, but overall they don't look bad, and I feel like the Jeffree palette is still a little bit brighter, but you guys can tell me because you saw it up close. Alright guys, it is the end of the night. I just got out of the rain, and this is what my makeup looks like after 8 hours of wear. So this is the Manny MUA Lunar Beauty side. Still some color there. Still not a fan of how dull this color looks. And the yellow is still intact. And this is the Jeffree Star side. I didn't touch either side, so whatever got caught in the rain is the only result. Still very bright. Still think it's brighter than that one, which is kind of dull. Sorry, I'm so squinty. And this one looks brighter. And then this is still brighter. But I feel like the yellow looks a little more dull than the Manny one. Just in person, the Manny one looks like more yellow. Don't really see as much yellow on the Jeffree side. So, I don't know. I really like the Jeffree side better. I think it's a little bit better. But the colors in it, some people might not like. All the oranges that are in the Jeffree palette. Personally, I think the Jeffree palette looks really cute now. This one looks a little more dull, and I'm just not a fan of that mint color, but I did want to use it because it is one of these similar shades in the palette. You guys can justify for yourself which one you want to buy. They're both sold out, but they both will be restocking pretty soon, I believe. And, both really good quality palettes. I'm not dissing either palette. I love both of them. I'm going to use both of them a ton, but you guys want to decide by side, and I think I like the Jeffree one better, but just by a little bit. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, I will see you in the next one. I put it every single freaking day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.